Hey y'all, Katie here with Team EvoAZ, and welcome to the Arizona Monthly Market Housing Update with Matt and Katie, where you learn all about the greater Phoenix area housing market, including information on interest rates, what's happening with housing prices, and tips and tricks for buyers and sellers. Please like, subscribe, and download our episode so that we can continue to get this real news out to the real people.
Hey, everybody, it's Katie and
Matt and
and
Ryan.
woohoo. Welcome back, guys, and welcome everybody to our monthly market update, where we talk about everything hyper local in terms of real estate, mortgage rates, predictions, things that we see coming up, things that we're dealing with now with our clients, because all three of us are out in the field and dealing with these things on a day-to-day basis. Again, very hyper local Phoenix area information here, guys. So let's kick it off. Talk to us about rates, Ryan. It's what's on everybody's lips these days.
Yeah. Thank you. We got a lot to talk about. I'll try to make it quick, but the big news recently has been the Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell's discussion, really about the outlook for Fed rate hikes. Just to recap, of course, in order to tame inflation, which spiked after the Fed funds rate was at zero, for 2020 and 2021 during the pandemic. It was at zero to increase spending during that time, and it worked. There was a lot of spending. I think we all know that. Now, they've raised it from 0 to 5.5% today. And really, bottom line, they did that to lower spending, to bring things back and to lower inflation. Now, the good thing is the plan has worked. Inflation has seen a significant drop, but mortgage rates, as we had discussed on the recordings a few times, they follow inflation. So inflation is going down. How come mortgage rates are dropping with it? And one of the big reasons why is that the Fed has acknowledged the progress that they've made with lowering inflation, with increasing the funds rate, but Jerome Powell said it hasn't dropped enough. And he is kind of saying, like last week during Jackson Hole meeting, which they have every year, he's saying that more rate hikes may be needed. So this is really helping to keep mortgage rates at higher levels. And we actually saw it's been a bad month. August has not been good for mortgage rates. They jumped back to the highs that we saw last October and November, which we weren't expecting to see this year.
Right.
But one, big thing that the Fed mentioned last week is that they're focused on really the jobs market right now. The jobs market is surprisingly been really strong right now, but right now we have started to see kind of things start to shift. When the job market is strong, people keep spending and that keeps inflation high. So believe it or not, what the Fed is hoping to see is hiring to slow a little bit, that they want to see slower spending to help lower inflation, but they just haven't seen that yet. So the big news this week is that the jobs report has been released and we're finally starting to see less jobs being created, a little bit more layoffs, which we've kind of heard about in the news, but hasn't really been reflected in these reports yet. And of course, pay going down a little bit as well. So since this is what the Federal Reserve is really focused on, these weaker reports, it's more supportive of them, pausing their rate hikes. So that's what's kind of strange. You see what you think is negative news, less hiring, less spending, that should be bad. But, the stock market's doing well because they feel, hey, the Fed might stop raising rates, which will be better in the long run for the economy, inflation, everything. So that's kind of the big news this week, is that we're finally starting to see some negative jobs reports, which in reality will be good for mortgage rates down the road. So but it's been a great week to end the month. We have seen things really improve with mortgage rates. They've gone down by about a quarter and are looking to improve tomorrow and next week after Labor Day. So yeah, so it's been a positive week, and we're hoping this continues for the rest of the year.
Awesome. And are you seeing that reflected in your incoming buyer applications and the people that you're working with?
Yes, we've had a really busy week so far. And usually what's funny, like the week before Labor Day is kind of quiet, back to school's going on, people are maybe taking vacations, but it's been a really hot week for us for new applications. So yeah, you guys seeing the same?
Yeah, it's been very
yeah,
busy for us as well. Of course, we experienced, 2020 and 2021 were a bit different,
Yes.
but we normally experience a little bit of a slowdown during the month of August, especially. It's warm. People are getting back to school, like you mentioned. It's very normal for us to slow down a little bit, and it's welcoming sometimes because then we can actually like do something with our family, which is fun. But we have noticed things start to kick up as well. Still getting multiple offers on our listings, and really, I mean, activity is kind of business as usual. Would you say, Matt?
Yeah, absolutely. And to what you're saying, yeah, usually August and September traditionally are really slow in Arizona. It's the end of the summer. People are dealing with heat. They're dealing with kids going back to school. Everything that's happening during that time. So we've always experienced a lull, and I do find it kind of not ironic, but the fact that we're at the same exact time dealing with, really high rates going higher than anyone anticipated. And when all this happened, I was kind of saying, all right, we're going to see a pause. We're probably going to see a spike in inventory. We're going to see a real, we're going to notice it on the front line of our listings. And honestly, we haven't. We've seen a little bit, but one of the other big things that I've noticed in this is also what's happening with our rental market, because the same thing kind of happens during August and September. Usually mostly August and September will slightly start to pick up, but we see the same thing. Rental inventory goes up. You can usually get better rental deals. People really haven't, gotten to snowbird mode yet. What are they really going to be doing in renting? And that's been the opposite. I've actually now seen rental inventory dropping, rental rates going up slightly, which is just, it says a lot.
Absolutely. And I know that we typically discuss hyperlocal, Phoenix area information and statistics here, but it also matters what's going on in the rest of the world, right? And those statistics do play a part in things as well. And something that I came across just recently, just the other day, I thought was really interesting from Keeping Current Matters. And I'm going to share that slide here really quick with you. So those of you that are just listening, Keeping Current Matters is a publication that I quite love. They have a lot of great information on it. And this is from their blog. And it's called Buyer Traffic Stronger Than Normal Years. And it's showing, obviously, we're keeping, 2020 through 2022 off the table here because those are crazy. But look at what it's showing from 2017 through 2019. So 2023, once it's stacked alongside it, it's still showing that we have a lot of buyer activity. And I feel like I'm always on YouTube and I'm seeing these, videos of people who are filming in their grandma's basement or whatever, saying that buyer activity is down and nobody's out there buying and it's completely stalled. And it's just not the case. It's certainly not the case here.
Yeah, in Arizona, absolutely. I'm sure there's parts of the other, the country that it might be feeling something different, but Arizona is definitely different. We're an outlier at this point.
Yeah, we're absolutely booming, I feel like. And, it's hard to see those posts and articles and thing out there that say opposite. And another thing that I was telling you guys about before we got on the show that I was kind of thinking about yesterday that is also having some impact, I feel like, is, we're seeing posts about, oh, it's impossible to buy in Phoenix these days. And, things are just too crazy. Yet these people are paying these higher rental rates so they can, they have the income to support it. What I'm seeing is a lot of times people don't have the credit standing in order to purchase. And I know Ryan and we work a lot together. I know you do too with Matt and his clients. But are you seeing that same thing? Like, what is the typical, what do you typically see? What's the percentage of people that come through that can't buy because of credit, but they do have the income to support a purchase?
Yeah, I'd say probably a third of the clients we have come in aren't quite ready yet with their credit. We work with mainly first-time home buyers. That's a lot of what we do. I have a lot of past clients. I might move up. That's some of my business as well. But a lot of them, I work with, your team, and we get a lot of first-time home buyer referrals from our database. And yeah, I think a lot of them, it's kind of a lack of planning ahead. A lot of the times their leases may be ending in a couple months, and they're like, hey, maybe it's time to get in and buy. And by that time, they haven't really prepared savings yet. They haven't really looked at their credit. So we're kind of catching them, and there's not that big of a window to kind of work on their credit and guide them on what needs to be done to get qualified. So we see that about a third of the time. And with us, obviously, we'll send you a copy of your credit report. will tell you what you need to do to get into a position to qualify. But, sometimes that could take, 4 or 5 months. So it's always good if you're planning on buying, within a year or 6 months, don't wait until that time to reach out and start taking an application. Do it now. It's okay. You'll have a credit check. It's not going to hurt your credit. You can have 3 credit checks in a 3 week period, and it's not going to impact your score. And just know where you stand now. Know what needs to be done. Know if your credit's going to be ready, just so you're in that position to do something 6 months to a year down the road when you're ready to buy. So I think that's kind of what we run into, is that we don't have that big of a window. So sometimes they have to extend their lease a little bit. And then, maybe rates start dropping and things change and the market changes. They miss out on an opportunity. So the key is to start early, know where you're at now and know what needs to be done to get you to where you need to go.
I totally agree. And in fact, I tell anybody that I speak to, even, what's the upcoming generation Z, even those guys, learn about credit, learn how it works, learn how to maintain your credit so that it is at the levels so that you can jump when you see an opportunity. And I love you saying, 6 months to a year ahead of time. And I think that's a great amount of time, because usually we can get people's credit up in that amount of time, when we're working together on that. But if they start at the very beginning of their credit life, imagine how much opportunity would be open to them, because they can pounce when the time is right. And I just think that the education piece on that is super important.
Yeah,
absolutely.
There's so many tools to get your credit increase quickly nowadays. Like, I know we kind of covered it before. You could add your rental, onto your credit. Actually, if you're renting a house, you're renting an apartment, you could add that on. There's Experian Boost, where you actually add on, utilities or your cell phone. So there's so many tools to get a jump, to get more program available, down payment assistance, better interest rates. So yeah, the key is just to start early.
Yeah. And I want to talk about those down payment assistance programs and the buy downs and all of that stuff too. But I also want to dispel kind of a myth out there that I've heard some people make comments, oh, I only need to worry about my credit if I plan on buying. And you know what? I just don't plan on buying. And that's not the case. Credit checks are happening with employers. Your credit checks are happening with insurance, with, obviously with buying vehicles and getting credit cards and things like that. And that is going to directly reflect the amount, what it costs you. So why not put yourself in the best place that you possibly can now, or as early as possible? I'm just a big supporter for education on the credit front. Matt, you look like you have all kinds of things to say.
I always do. What's new?
As
right?
always.
No, absolutely. And I think one of the things that we've seen is almost this narrative of, what does home ownership represent, and like to everyone. And a lot of people that might not be in the position to do so, there's a narrative out there that almost allows them to keep the same mindset of almost like this victim mindset of, oh, it's never going to be the right time. It's always, it's not meant, for everyone. And the truth is, it is. That's exactly the truth. Like, home ownership is not a right. It's a privilege. It's something that you have to earn. And we've seen exactly the byproduct to that when the government intervened and really tried to create it more of a right. And that's what we saw with subprime mortgage, where they were literally now trying to change the goalpost and change the everything that we use to keep balance and healthiness to our real estate market, and allowing people to come in without giving credit, without giving income, and ultimately saying everyone has the right to own. And look what we ran into. It was the biggest debacle in housing history. So what we've learned from that is it is important. And the bottom line is there's never been a convenient time to purchase, ever. There's never been something that, oh, this is the right time.
Right.
It's a matter of really looking at and balancing the risk in your own life and saying, well, what's the risk to reward to this? And that's why a lot of these credit processes are there to kind of protect you, so you're not making decisions that are going to, bite off more than you can chew. But it's also going to come down to you as the buyer, the consumer, to have that mindset to really look at what's going on. And right now I look at Phoenix, and I know a lot of people, a lot of locals that have been here for 10 or 20 years, they're kind of screaming again saying, oh, it's unaffordable, there's never opportunity. And honestly, like, this is the opportunity. If you really look at everything that's happening, with the fact that we have so many people moving here, our rents are actually rental inventory is going down. There's so many things pointing to the fact that Arizona's stabilizing, and we're stabilizing during the time we've seen the highest rates. So what do you think is going to happen when we start to see rates get some relief? When we
Right.
start to see the light at the end of the tunnel, it's only going to go up. So if you're looking to purchase as a homeowner and you're like, hey, this is going to be my forever home, or it's a 5 to 10 year plus plan, you got to really assess what you're trying to do, because you're going to shoot yourself in the foot if you think, oh, everything has to be perfect, interest rate, inventory, and this perfect runway for you to purchase a home without any risk. It's never going to happen.
Well, and
You're
here's
just
the
gonna
deal.
constantly be mad.
If all of those things line up perfectly, they're lining up perfectly for everybody else too. And that's going to bring a crowd. So what do you think is going to happen at that point?
Boom, we'll see a bubble and it
Exactly.
will burst, and then everyone will complain. Oh, it was it's just so you got to really kind of, I think, for everyone, just take a deep breath, look in the mirror, figure out exactly what's important to you and your family and what your goals of this home ownership, and look at it and say, yeah, right now I might be paying more of a rate, but if anything, that's going to force me to be maybe a little bit more fiscally responsible. I'm going to be saving and putting this money towards my home versus spending it on frivolous things that aren't going to affect my future positively, like homeownership. And then guess what? The coming years, when it's time to refi, it's going to be the best gift ever when you see your rate come down and all this equity there. And then you're going to be like, oh, wow. So I think that's just a big thing for people to think about.
And remember, your interest rate on a rental property is 100%. It's
Right.
Exactly.
So yeah, you're in the sevens right now, but it's a lot better than 100%. And I thought it was interesting. I was reading a CNBC article last night where it said nearly 82% of home buyers who actually own a home right now feel locked in because of their existing low mortgage rate, according to Realtor.com. So that's why we're seeing such a shortage of homes right now, obviously, is because people just don't want to get rid of that 2.875 they have from 2021. So that's
Right.
why listings are down by 20%. But they are reporting that people are looking for mortgage rates to be in the mid sixes or mid fives. That's kind of the key rate, what people feel, where people are going to go flood back into the market, maybe start listing their homes and buying again. So it's going to be really interesting to see how the market shifts when that happens, which some experts are predicting could be happening next year. So, it'd be interesting to see how that kind of pans out once we hit that marker.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And another thing that I think that a lot of people, maybe it's just because they don't know that it exists, may not be taking advantage of some of the things out there that are available to help kind of, soften the blow a bit. Like,
Yeah.
for instance, the 2-1 buy down. For instance, something we just had a conversation about on a recent Tip Tuesday you and Dana did was the loan assumption. So where there's a will, there's a way. And it's obviously really important to have people on your team that are experienced and that are aware of all of these opportunities and can help guide you toward the best one that fits your needs. But there are things out there to help. And can you speak briefly to some of those things, like the buy down, for instance?
Yeah, absolutely. The 2-1 buy down has been extremely popular for us. It's seller funded, so the seller provides the concessions to be able to cover that. So what happens is the first year that you're in your mortgage in the home, the rate is 2% less than the current market. So let's just say conventional rates are 7.5%. That's a 5.5% that you
There's
get.
your 5 or 6 everybody wants, right?
Yeah, that's what everybody wants. And the plan is to get you into a home, kind of use the seller subsidy to get you a lower payment for the first 2 years. And then, of course, when the market heats up, when property values can continue to increase, when rates drop, you refinance and get a 30-year fixed, a low interest rate. But hey, you're in the house. That's the goal, is to get you into the home, before prices continue to go up. So that's been a very popular program for us. And yeah, we do have a great down payment assistance program. We have one called the Essex FHA loan, which really, it covers the entire 3.5% down. So you don't have to bring any money down, and you only need a 600 credit score. So I know we were talking about credit. You don't have to be that high to get 0% down or to qualify. A 600 will get you a zero down loan. So a lot of the times, even if you're in the mid to low 500s, we could quickly get you over 600 in 3 to 4 months and get you qualified for this great program. You don't even have to be a first-time home buyer. There's no income limits. So it's a fantastic program. So like you said, Katie, there's so many programs out there. There's so many options. And, the first step is to to call your realtor, call your lender, and make sure that you're in the right position to finally take advantage of these programs.
Absolutely. And I know it to be true because we've been working together for so long that there are some quick fixes to credit. Like not everybody, and not in everybody's case, but in some cases, Ryan, we have, or more rightfully so, you have repaired someone's credit or helped them repair their credit in a record-breaking amount of time. So, I often see people kind of hesitant because they know they might have a couple of marks on their credit that aren't so good. I see them hesitate and kind of taking that step to either speak with you or to get that, start working on that. And they might totally be missing an opportunity, and their situation may not be anywhere near as bad as what they think.
Oh, I can't tell you how many people we talk to that are nervous to take the application. We always kind of go over what they're looking for payment wise, purchase price wise, and we always kind of ask them where they think their credit is. And a lot of the times, they'll say, "Oh, I think it's like in the low 500s. I don't think it's good." Pull it mid 600s, they're qualified, and they didn't even know it. They would have done something a year ago if they knew. So, yeah, it's that's why it's the first step is to get a full credit check. Because if you're actually doing it on Credit Karma or doing any of those, Experian apps or things like that, those aren't always 100% accurate because those are consumer credit checks. They use different algorithms. They use, different systems to get you qualified and to show you where your current interest rate's at. So what you need is a full, what's called a tri-merge, where we pull all three credit bureaus, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, and we could show you exactly where your score is at. And it's going to be a lot more accurate. So that's why it's so important to get an actual mortgage application and full credit check to know where you stand.
Totally agree. Education's key, people. It's key.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think like one of the things is like even with the programs that you're discussing, here to help people out that maybe do have some credit issues. They really have this dream of ownership. They think about it all the time, and they really want it. But they're going to be in this position that they don't have everything to get the best rate and or such. Well, these programs are great, but there's still risk associated, and that risk is something that you can still kind of balance and take care of. And I think a lot of people need to remember that where, hey, you can take advantage of these, like you're saying, 0 down, 600 credit score, but that's going to ultimately like get you on the bike with training wheels. You're moving, right? You still have to understand that you're now that you own the home, it's not like, oh, I'm going to instantly move to riding with no hands. No, like you still have to remove the training wheels and it might take falling and stuff. So you're now, okay, I got the house, but now I need to make sure I'm saving, I'm preparing. So I don't put myself in a bad position. So I am in a position to refi and get out of this program and, or, make sure that I'm moving forward. And I think a lot of people, it's important to think that they're just so quick to get the prize and then kind of just, all right, I did all this hard work to get my credit to there, and then everything else falls by the wayside. And then they find themselves in a bad situation. And that's not the case. That's just not the case.
Right. Right. And if you do intend to refinance at some point down the road, it's certainly important to keep your eyes on that credit score. Right, Ryan?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yeah. You don't want to stop making those payments on the credit cards and everything. Yeah. What's great is about, your mortgage, as soon as that hits and you start making monthly payments on it, that really is going to help your credit score. So usually what we find after we close on a mortgage within a year, if they try to refinance, we see a big boost in your credit just from that mortgage reporting and showing you're paying it on time. So it's a great tool to get your score up.
Having a mortgage is a good thing.
Good thing.
All right, guys. Well, thank you again for being with us here month after month. I absolutely love this show. I hope that we are providing some education, some insight to our listeners and our viewers out there. If you would like to check out any of our previous episodes, we've got a lot of them. Hop on over to our YouTube channel. It is at Team Evo AZ. That is our handle. You will see the very first playlist on that page is the monthly market update. And you can see what we said last month and the month before and all of that fun stuff. There's a few other playlists on there that you should check out as well. Speaking of education, one of them is the Tip Tuesday playlist. And we go over a lot of mortgage stuff there, mortgage things that you need to know, really do educate our listeners. And it's between 2 and 4 minutes. So it's super quick for those of you with the short attention spans like me. And then if you are more of the listener, you like it in your ears, you walk a lot, hike a lot, bike a lot, whatever, then hop over to your favorite podcast platform, do a quick search for Arizona Real Estate Radio, and you can connect with our channel there. We will see you again next month. Bye, guys.
Hi, everyone.
Bye.